Well, the temperature is supposed to get up to about 70 degrees today. Oh, it's wonderful. In almost the middle of December. So we're going out and we're going to work on the old Thunderbird. And by the way, wife said, raise some cash. It's Christmas time. I'll see what I can do. Well, wifey said that she wants some cash raised. She doesn't care how I do it, so I guess I have no choice. I'm going to have to sell my caliper. She wants to do a little more shopping. She's got a few presents she wants to buy. I don't know why she needs the money, but I'll have to get rid of the caliper. So if anybody's in the market for a good used caliper for a 1966 T-Bird, here it is. Today the big plan is to remove the brake booster from the firewall. Hopefully I can get that done. I think I'm going to have to remove the driver's seat to do that, so I have enough room to get underneath there. We'll see. And I need to try to find a way to mount our little proportioning valve. This whole idea I came up with this bracket right now, tentatively, looks like it might not work. However, there are two other options I can use. I don't know. I'm really going to play around with those two items today. That's about all we're going to cover, except for our upper control arm. We need to put these insulators in that insulate the spring from the metal. A metal spring from a metal control arm. And we're going to put insulators in here. We're going to put an insulator in here, which is this one right here. You buy them at the, wherever you want to buy them, any of the Thunderbird supply guys. And this thing, has a hump. See the hump right there? That hump fits down in that hole down in there, so we stick that down in there. You don't want to go without these guys, because what happens is metal to metal, they'll wear out and fall out on their own eventually, especially with any hard driving. Of course, this car hopefully will never have any more hard driving, but you don't want metal to metal, because it just grinds away metal. It just grinds it away. And so my son's 57 Chevy, I wish that dog would be quiet. That 57 Chevy of my boys, we didn't have any insulators, didn't know where to get them at the time we rebuilt the front end on his car, put new coil springs in it and all that stuff. So every single time the front end goes up and down, it goes squeak, 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 squeak. And what it is the coil spring rubbing against the control arms. So this thing fits down in there fairly snug. They're well made. However, I don't want to take the chance of them moving around while I'm trying to put that spring back up inside that car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a small bead of silicone around here like that, and then go ahead and put this back in and let it set until it dries, and that'll hold it in place. And I'm not going to put a heavy bead, just enough to hold it. The only thing you have to do is make sure that the surface is nice and clean, okay? Anything that'll help. Now let's take a look at the other end of the spring. Now the other end of the spring is flat, as you can see right here, and of course the insulator is also flat on one side, so this is the side that will go up against the body of the car. This open area here with this, all this area here where it opens up, that goes against the spring. And this little groove, this little raised area here, I'll show it to you from the other side, you can see it better, I think. Get a little more clarity here and zoom in. There we go. Okay, see how it's raised right there and it's lowered on the bottom? I think this edge, that lip right there, will fit against this right here. The original insulator is a little bit different than this one right here. So in the book it tells you to position one of these up to the edge right there, but I don't think that's right. In this case, but if it's not, I can always fix it. It's not that big a deal. I'm going to put this edge against here, but in the book they tell you to take a screwdriver and pry it apart, put your insulator between them. I don't think that's necessary anymore. We just set it right on top, but we'll see. Let me get it on there and see how it looks. Well, that's it. I've got it on there, and it just slips right over the coil. And I do have the end of the spring on the inside up against that lip on the bottom. However, the only thing that bothers me is this thing sticking up in the air like this. I don't know if it's the only way it can go. I would hold it in place. I mean, everything looks to be good. The coil springs all the way, it's all wrapped around the coil spring all the way. If anybody knows any different, let me know. But right now, that's the way she's going to have to go. That's just a standard old coil spring right there. Is this thing supposed to be moved around a little further somehow? I don't know. I'm not quite sure what to think about that. I don't think I have it upside down. I don't think so. No, it wouldn't be upside down. It would be too much metal would be exposed where this slot is. But I think that's right. All you Thunderbird guys out there, let me know. See, the problem was this car had no insulators. They were all gone. I think there was a piece of shred of one down in here, but the insulators were all gone. So I'm kind of, this one here, no problem. This one here, just pure guesswork and experience, I guess. Let me know if it's any different. Well, there's the light coating of silicone, not very thick. And now I'll go ahead and put this baby down in there. Get that sucker screwed all the way down in there, placed all the way down in there. I don't want any slippage whatsoever. Let me work on it with both hands here. Alright, I think I got her. She's nice and tight down in there. Now we'll just let it sit overnight. Alright, let's tackle this. I'm going to have to take the nuts off these bolts. Let's tackle this booster and get it out. I'll tell you one thing I'm concerned about is this thing here where the vacuum is pulled through. It's awfully loose. If you don't have a good seal, you can't pull a vacuum in here. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do about that. This thing will pop out. It's a check valve. And we'll show you that later on. But right now I just want to get it off the car. Well, we're not looking good here at all already. This is a, let me hang this up here. This is a piece of foam rubber right here. These two pieces separated on me. They just sort of fell apart. This foam rubber sort of came out. Oh, jeez. I have no idea why that would be there. It must be some kind of a, must be an air intake or something which allows the diaphragm to go back. Otherwise it would be stuck out all the time. You know, once you hit the brake and the diaphragm comes out, and then you release the brake and the vacuum releases the diaphragm, this thing has to go back. And now it does have a spring that takes it back. But maybe this is an air inlet which and allows that to do that. I'm going to have to look around and see if these things are even available. If not, I may have to make my own. This is a strange setup. This side doesn't look too bad, but I don't know. I really don't know. Let me see if this thing, it does snap back together okay, but I don't know. I'm going to have to do some heavy cleaning on that, see what I can do. I may not be able to. I'm sure I can clean it up and make it work. But I don't know. It may have come off before. Look at all that sealer on there. I don't know if that sealer's original or not. Someone may have taken it off and decided to seal it back up because they were having brake problems. Well, I can see why. Way back when we tore the wheel cylinders out of this thing, they were just clogged up with crap. They were probably thinking that their booster wasn't working. All right, let's keep at it. Just to give you a reminder from our very early videos where we kind of scoped this all out. Last time it was all soaking wet in here. This is not in that bad a shape. The sidewalls were the ones I was worried about the most down in here. And that's nice and solid, okay? The rest of it, yeah, I'll probably wind up cutting out a lot of it. It's pretty solid down to about right there, that area right there. But it's got a hole. The other side's completely, you know, it's one of those, what do they call them? I can't remember, the Barney Fife or Barney Miller or Barney something, that cartoon series where they used to pedal their cars around with their feet down through the floor. So it is on the other side. It's in terrible shape. It's all got to be cut out. Well, let me see if I can get up underneath there. There's 4 bolts. And the rod that was sticking out from the middle of the booster is attached to the brake pedal arm. So I need to disconnect it. I need to disconnect the brake light switch, and then take the 4 bolts loose, and it should come right out. Now, getting down in there is going to be a problem. I probably should go ahead and remove this seat. Well, it doesn't look too bad as far as getting the 4 bolts to hold the seat in. This one here, there's one over there, and here's the last one. Got a little bit of rust on them. I'm going to have to really wire brush them. This one here is got more rust than the rest. I'll have to wire brush them real good before I attempt, and then spray them down with some of that PB blaster, oil them up real good before I try to take them off. I don't want to snap any of these bolts off. This is one of these things where you take your time. Alright, that's done. I'll just let it soak for a while I go get a cup of coffee. I may even put a little bit of, well, I don't think I need to do that. Those are fixed bolts. They're welded to the runners on the seat. So we'll just go get coffee and then we'll come back. Well, here's the little one that's been making all that noise, all that barking noise. My goodness sakes. He says, I sit out here all day and wait on my daddy. He said, my sweetheart, come here, honey. This is old Buddy. How you buddy doing? This is my baby. You doing all right, huh? He's a happy little doggy. Well, all the nuts are off, and of course, there always has to be one that wants to be cantankerous and a little different from the rest. You know, the nuts just came off real easy. They're 9/16, by the way. And this one, of course. Normally, the top is welded to the rail that the seat sits on. I was surprised to find out that there's a threaded end. Be kind of interesting to see what that looks like once I get the seat out, if I can get it out. Alright, is she loose? Oh yeah, she's loose. Okay. I'm probably going to weigh a ton. I'll do my best. Well, that's not too bad. I need to put this over here where I can get a better view of this thing. This is a cleaning pad. I think my grandson left that in there when he cleaned out the car a little bit here. Alright, let's take the old ball peen hammer. See how solid this is. Oh, I like that. Good sound all the way. Sounds good. Real flaky up here. Pretty solid in this area. That's good. Okay, apparently we're only going to have to change this area right here. Same thing on the other side, which is kind of neat. It's I got to find a place to put these what do they call them, roller, I forget what they're called. God, I hate it when I have a brain fart like that all the time. I'll think of it in a few minutes, but I got to find a place in town where we can have him do that. And I think there might be a machine shop that can handle it. But first we'll get the, we'll cut it all out, we'll mark it and do all the stuff and take it down. I may find out if he can do it first. That gas pedal is going to have to come up. That thing is in bad shape the way it's hooked there to the floor. But oh well. Right now I've been kind of messing around with that center console too, trying to take it out, my spare time. Right now let's get the booster bolts out and the rest of that stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, you go to the shop manual and then it tells you how to remove that booster. You just kind of crawl up under there, take this apart, take that apart, and pull out the clip and take off the nuts on the bolts, and the whole thing will just slip right out. You're right. Okay, this is going to be very, very difficult. You have to be a contortionist. They got so much crap up under there. I can see the nuts on the bolts, and I can probably get to them. Getting the rod loose from the brake pedal, it has some kind of like wire clip. Very, very difficult to get to, but I'm going to keep at it. I don't know if I'm going to get to it in this video though. Man alive, there's so much crap up under this dash. Up underneath the dash there, the brake pedal rod goes up and hooks to a bracket. There's a horizontal pin that goes through and keeps that vertical rod up there. That's the back part of it is attached to the rear of the brake booster that runs through the firewall. That big old pin goes through, and on the other end it just sticks out past the mounting bracket just a little bit. And they've got this clip that runs through the hole in the end of that thing to keep it from coming back out. And the only way I could see to get it out of there was to take a very long screwdriver. I think this is #1 Phillips. Get it through the hole, find a place to wedge the point against, and then pull it back this way. And when I did, I was able to pull it right out of that hole. And the way it's worked is the straight part goes through the hole, and once it goes all the way through, this part right here, it's a spring thing, spring clip. Once it goes all the way through, this part here clips over the top of the pin that holds it, and then if I can find out what I did with it. Anyway, it holds it in, keeps it from coming back out, that's all. But boy, I'll tell you what, trying to get to that sucker, that was not easy. Lucky me, I had a screwdriver that long. Getting it back in, now that's even going to be more fun. I'm going to have to really grease that baby up. I now have the pin, the shaft that runs through the firewall, I now have the pin removed from the rod that connects to the brake pedal. And you can see that it just kind of goes up and down real easy now. Now the question is, I always look for an easier way to do things. Sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't. There's 2 bolts on the right hand side up in there, 2 nuts. And then there's 2 on the other side. They're very difficult to get to, but I can do it. If I remove those, if everything goes as I think it's ready to go, the entire booster will be removed. However, there might be an easier way. I don't know. Check out, now this is the booster and there's the rod. I don't know if you can make out that rod down in there. There it is. There's a rod down in there that goes through the firewall into that brake pedal that I just removed. However, there's a nut there and a nut down there. See the 2 nuts? Let me zoom in here. Those nuts, this is a bracket on the outside here, and there's a nut top and bottom, and there's one on the other side as well. If I remove these 2 nuts, the bracket could stay in place. Everything else could stay in place, and if I'm seeing this right, the booster should come right loose and just come right apart. I don't know. I think what I'll do is I'll loosen them up about halfway and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, well, we'll just tighten them back up and go back in underneath the dash. They're on there too tight, and I can't get enough leverage down in there with the wrench to bust them loose. So, looks like we're back under the dash. Oh well. By the way, that was Ron C's idea. I don't know. He comes up with some of the suckiest stuff. Well, that took a while, but I finally got all 4 of the nuts off. I'm going to take those and the clip, and I'm going to put them inside this plastic bag. I don't want to lose it. By the way, in order to take those off from up underneath the dash, you're going to need a very long extension and a deep socket, 9/16, with a swivel. You got to have a swivel or universal, whatever you want to call it. In order to reach way up in there and get that angle you need to get those things off. And a larger size ratchet. If you have a larger one, go with it. If not, don't worry about it. Just go to 3/8. All right, let's see if she's loose enough. Yeah, she's loose. It's going to take 2 hands to get her out of there, if she'll come. Well, here she is, and this is the rod you have to disconnect from inside there. That's the one where the pin went through, and that the pin on the brake pedal rod goes through there, and then of course that keeper clip goes through the end of it that has a hole drilled through it. And it's not looking so hot right now. This rubber boot's all torn to pieces, but I don't know. And of course, well, look at here, we got our obligatory mud wasp nest. Gotta have it. Oh my goodness, we must have that. We can't go without that. This car is so covered with these things. It's unbelievable. Anyway, we're going to find out whether or not this thing is any good. We'll do that next time. I want to clean it up a little bit and check everything out. It may be fine, it may not. I don't know. We shall see. I'll tell you what, let's take a look down in the end here. This is the rod that goes into the back of the master cylinder. Doesn't look too good down in there, really. Got a bunch of crud and crap. You know, what this thing here boils down to is, yeah, it may be functional, but is it safe? One thing about these boosters, even if the booster craps out, you still got your brakes. The rod from the brake pedal is still connected to that rod right back there, and that rod there is still connected to this right here, and you'll just have to push your brains out to stop your car. But you will still have brakes if this craps out. On this car, I don't know about all cars. I'm not speaking of all cars. This thing here is, I need to get that out of there. That's that check valve. Anyway, that's That's what we got so far. It's just not looking very promising at this point. But we will vacuum test it and see what happens if I can get a good seal around here. Well, let's take a look. My battery's about dead on my camera, so I think I better just wrap up this video here. But this line here, this is our brake line. I'm going to have to make a new one, or buy another one. I'll probably make one. It goes all the way across and down to the other wheel. But let me get this light out. It's kind of messing up the camera. But whoever did some work on this car did not do a very good job. They took the motor out, then they just left the wires hanging. See these clips that hold the wires together? They just left it laying down there, right where the shift linkage is. I'll tell you what, it just irritates me to no end. And they ran it up behind this hood spring. Nice place for it to get cut in half. I'm putting the hood up and down if it's in the wrong position one time, but I don't know, it's pretty dirty down in here. We can clean all that up. But one of our good subscribers says it's a good time to change this rag joint right here now that I've got everything out, but I don't see anything wrong with this one. This one is nice and tough and strong, no problem at all. It's not frayed in any way. It has the laminations have not come apart. I don't think I'm going to have to go through all that hassle. If I do, I do, but I don't see a problem with it right now. It's in very good condition. At least I think it is. It looks good. Anyway, the rest is not too bad, you know. Could be worse. A lot of this stuff is just a little road grease, dirt and grease mixed together. Looks like it might even be some undercoating. I don't know. But anyway, that's what's going on with this. We're going to have to do something with these wires. I'm going to have to figure out how to mount them up. I think one of them attached, this one here, I think this one here attached to one of the bolts that was holding the master cylinder on, keeping it up out of the way of everything. They didn't bother to put it back on. Anyway, why don't we go ahead and wrap it up? Like I said, my battery's about had to lick. I wanted to get at least one more Thunderbird video out to you all before Christmas. So until next time, I hope you had fun with it like I did. This is John. Oops, don't forget the brake caliper. Only used about 3 million times.